This evening we continue with Sutta number 33, Bhante Vimalaramsi in Miami, Florida. Is June 1st, 2001.
Okay, tonight we're going to be on the set of three things. Okay, there's three unwholesome roots. They are greed, hatred, and delusion. There's three wholesome roots: non-greed, non-hatred, non-delusion. How do you get these? When lust comes up in your mind, you have the idea in your mind, I want. When hatred comes up in your mind, you have the idea in your mind, I don't want. And delusion. What is delusion? A mind that's deluded takes all of these mental states personally. Now, when you have craving in your mind, craving is the I want, I don't want. And that's lust, hatred, and delusion. The way dependent origination works, you have an I, it hits color and form. As soon as that arises, feeling arises. When the feeling arises, the feeling is either pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. If it's a pleasant feeling, right after that, your mind says, I like that. That's craving. Right after that, there's all of the reasons why you like that. The thinking about and the habitual thinking. So how do you overcome lust, hatred, and delusion? As soon as I hits color and form, I consciousness arises. When that consciousness arises, right after that, feeling arises. When your mindfulness is good, when you're able to observe what happens, you'll start to notice that your mind begins to tighten around that object. Now, I took eye and color and form, but it's any of the six sense doors. It can be a sound, a taste, a smell, a touch, a thought. Right after the feeling arises, that's when that habitual habit that we have of taking that thought or that feeling personally. We take the sight personally. This is my sight. I see. And when we do that, that causes mind to tighten around it. And then you have thoughts about that sight. How you like it, how you don't like it. Lust, hatred. You've got delusion. Delusion is always the false identification of that being personal. That's me, that's mine, that's who I am. That's my sight, that's my sound. I like that sound. I don't like that sound. This is how the craving arises, and it causes more and more pain to arise because we get involved with it and then we try to control it. If it's an unpleasant sound, then we try to make that sound or that sight pleasant. Or we try to push it away so we don't have to pay attention to it anymore. If it's a pleasant sight, a pleasant sound, you try to hold on to it. I like this. I don't want it to change ever. I want it to be the same always because it's pleasant. But because everything is part of the universe, and the universe is always impermanent. It's always changing. Nothing ever stays the same, even though your mind would like it to be the same. Everything is in a state of movement. The pleasant thing, after a little while, something else occurs, and it turns into an unpleasant thing. The unpleasant thing eventually turns into another pleasant thing. But the delusion is always that we think it's ours personally. We're very much involved with that tightness and taking all thoughts and all feelings as they are yours, and that's all. And then if you like it, you want it to stay around. If you don't like it, you want it to change. Now, if you're sitting in meditation, you can have a very pleasant feeling arise. And this is where the idea of when joy arises, don't be attached to it. If you try to hold on to joy and make that joy stay, that's the fastest way to make the joy go away. Joy by itself is not wholesome, it's not good or bad. It just is. It's a feeling that arises. An unpleasant feeling, a pain that arises in your body. You can become just as attached to that as you can to joy. How? By taking that feeling personally and trying to make it the way you want it to be. With the joy, you're trying to make it stay. I like it. I don't want it to change. With the unpleasant feeling, what you're trying to do, instead of being attached and holding it on and trying to keep it close, you're being attached and trying to push it away. I don't want that around. I don't like that feeling. It hurts. In a lot of ways, the unpleasant feeling has stronger attachments than pleasant feelings. Because there's always that dissatisfaction with unpleasantness. The pleasant feeling is a little bit more tricky. Because it's nice, your mind just kind of grabs on a little bit. But the more aware you become of how this process works, you have a physical body, feelings, perception, thoughts, consciousness. When you have a physical body, that means you have a physical eye that hits an external object, color and form. That is called contact. When that contact arises, feeling arises. Right after feeling, I like it, I don't like it arises. The craving. What is the cause of suffering? What's the second noble truth? The second noble truth, or the first noble truth is that there is suffering. The second noble truth is the cause of suffering is craving. Now, every time you have that I like it mind, I don't like it mind, your mind has craving in it at that time. And your mind has delusion in it at that time, because you're taking an impersonal process and making it personal. Now you say, well, but I see something and I like it. You're not seeing how the process works. Good working eye, hitting color and form, contact. There's always a very subtle feeling. Feeling is pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. When it's pleasant or unpleasant, that attachment occurs. The tightening of the mind, the craving, the cause of the suffering, because you want it or you don't want it. It's the same coin, different sides. Craving is trying to control. So what we're trying to do is see everything as impersonal, so we let go of the control and see it the way it really is. Now, when you see craving arising in your mind and you let it go, you will feel an expansion in your mind. You will feel a clarity. There won't be thoughts, but there will be very sharp observation. And with that observation, there's a space around it and a calmness. And you bring that calmness into the present moment, back to your object of meditation, whatever you're doing at the time. So having non-delusion means letting go of that tightness in the mind. Letting go of all thoughts about the tightness, relax. Letting go of the tightness, relax. This sounds like the instructions for meditation, doesn't it? It doesn't matter whether you're doing this while you're sitting on the pillow, or you're walking from here to there, or you're driving your car, or you're at work. It doesn't matter. When you start to see there's tightness in your mind, let it go and relax.